I was just distracted from the very beginning because the voice that Kathryn Hunter is doing sounds just like Meatwad on Aqua Teen Hunger Force. We are playing catch up with The Front Room because if there is an A24 horror movie, we are curious about it. Christy and Alonso here. You guys subscribe and hang out all fall long. We were doing some planning just now for September. Do you guys have any idea how many movies are coming out in the month of September? We're going to get to all of the ones that matter, all the ones you guys care about. So come and hang out with us. Alonso, what is The Front Room about?
I realize I do not know my granddaughter's name.
We're gonna name her Fern.
Another plant you got growing in there?
It is a horror film from the Eggers brothers, Max and Sam, who are half brothers of Robert, and Max did co-write The Lighthouse with Robert. Brandy Norwood stars as Belinda. She is an anthropology professor, and she is pregnant. And she and her husband Norman, they are scraping to make ends meet. And it seems like the answer to their prayers is going to be Norman's stepmother, Solange, played by the great Kathryn Hunter. She has just been widowed and says that she will leave the couple all of her money as long as she can move in with them. Big mistake. She moves into the titular front room, which was supposed to be the baby's nursery, and Solange is your basic nightmare. She thinks that she channels the Holy Spirit. She's a member of the Daughters of the Confederacy. She is a giant pain in the ass. And how long can this household go before somebody snaps? This is a fun idea for a movie. It's a fun premise for a movie. It's a good cast for a movie. This is not a good movie.
How so? Why not?
Because it doesn't go anywhere. Like they keep sort of escalating the annoyance and the sort of terribleness of the Solange character, but you keep waiting for it to really go somewhere crazy. Like it has all the trappings of like, okay, there's going to be some weird sort of supernatural thing happen or some sort of like psychosis or something, but instead it's just kind of like you could easily, people talk about how like you could take a lot of Hallmark movies and turn them into horror movies without changing anything. You could turn this into like a wacky oil and water have to share the same house comedy without a lot of changes. But instead, you get, I think, more shit than I've seen in a movie since Pasolini's Salo. Because that's what happens when an old lady moves in, I guess. But boy, do they let you know that that's what happens. Yeah, Kathryn Hunter, you may remember her as all three witches in the Joel Coen Macbeth. She also played the Madam of the Bordello in Poor Things. She's an extraordinary physical performer. I always call her the Lady Doug Jones because she can just she can do all kinds of weird contortions and like use her body in a fascinating way. And she and Brandy are interesting performers and I think have the potential to really head off in a cool way. But this movie never quite commits to the bit or takes it anywhere that's particularly dark or interesting. So it just sort of like does the same thing over and over again, only slightly worse. And then when it finally resolves, it's kind of like, okay, I guess we're done now. You know, I found the whole thing very unsatisfying.
Yeah, it is really more of a gross out raunchy comedy than it is a horror movie.
Kind of,
like it kind of has some surreal kind of dreamlike moments that are very nightmarish and trippy in their imagery. And I guess in that regard, it's meant to be terrifying. I guess also the sight of this old woman's body is meant to frighten us in ways too that are kind of gross and exploitative. But I was just distracted from the very beginning because the voice that Kathryn Hunter is doing sounds just like Meatwad on Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
I have been TTing all over this bun for about 7 days now.
Fine! It's like this kind of mumbly sound. It's like borderline unintelligible half the time and intentionally so.
You are not wrong. You are not wrong. That is totally the voice she's doing.
And so that also made it not scary for me at all. Because I'm like, oh, I love Meatwad. He's so cute. He gets in all kinds of trouble.
I would get me Santa Claus.
So there's that. Yeah, I guess she is kind of like a diminutive version of Doug Jones, right? Because he's like a giant and she's like 4'9" or something like that. And she does know how to use her instrument in ways that are unsettling and darkly funny and weird and just stuff with her eyes, you know. But
the wig.
Yeah, there is a wig that has like a life of its own for sure. And also it's just one of these horror movies in which like if these people just made one smart decision, there would be no movie. But like when as you mentioned, there's a lot of poop in this movie. When she starts being incontinent and stuff, like I think that they have grounds to bring in help to place her somewhere. And I guess because she holds the purse strings, like that's not allowed. But in a normal situation, they could just send her someplace where she could get the care she needs and there'd be no movie, right? But we have to have them all stuck in this house together.
Of course.
I did enjoy the production design because it looks like a creepy old house where awful things could happen at any moment, right? With like the creaks and the decor, especially as the decor evolves over the course of the film, and the wallpaper and some of the things that are hanging on the walls. A lot of care went into making this place feel old and like maybe it might have been haunted at some point.
Yeah, and it's definitely the evolution of the interiors reflects the characters. I mean, I'm not like this isn't an incompetent movie, but I think tonally it never quite lands on anything, and it doesn't build the tension in any kind of way. I do feel like there were drafts where it was just like this was the pilot of a sitcom about a university professor who has to take in her old racist mother-in-law, you know?
Yeah. And it's not saying anything about postpartum depression.
No.
And it's not saying anything about racism.
Nope.
Not really.
Not
I mean, you
really.
have that one showdown at the dining room table, which threatens to be more interesting than it actually is.
Much like the entire movie. Yeah. It's like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Oh, no, we're not. We're not getting anywhere, you know?
I feel like Brandy is kind of game for whatever comes her way.
For
like,
sure, yeah.
You know, her character has a spine and, you know, she's up for the weirdness required of the role. I gotta say though, as somebody who's had a C-section, that's not what C-section scars look like. They are horizontal. They are lower down.
Well, they didn't get the facts right in this movie? I'm shocked.
They did not. Also, it borrows so obviously from other movies that deal with like motherhood and like the supernatural. Rosemary's Baby primarily.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of Hereditary at times here. But again, without the mood and the escalating tension, it's just sort of like kind of flopped together. But yeah, I don't blame either actress. I think they with a better script, they could have really like made something out of this.
Yeah. All right. What's your number then on the front room?
Like a 3.5. I found it to be mainly a waste of time.
I'd say like a 4. Yeah. And a lot of that's just for Kathryn Hunter's just gonzo performance here. So yeah, the front room, we wanted to catch up with it. Glad we did. Have you seen it? Let us know.